Good evening, everyone. This is Pradeep, Ambassador of Change from GETI, the Global Education and Training Institute of Lucknow. We are the premier training institute for principals and teachers in India and in several parts of the world. And we have many in-service and pre-service programs. For more information, please go to 740-840-1000. Right now, you are on our disruptive education platform provided to us by our mentor, Dr. Sunita Gandhi. And on this platform, we have met with and interacted with more than 1,600 educators from India and all over the world. And this evening, we have for you Professor Khaeruddin Sudharmin. He's an adjunct professor from the Asia Metropolitan University in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He is a hands-on corporate professional with more than 40 years of corporate and GLC credentials. He enjoys playing tennis, and he has industry exposure spanning publishing, university and investment cooperatives, hospitality services, learning and development, travel, transportation, etc. A whole lot of other corporate areas. And he has been invited to present papers in conferences globally and locally. And he has a whole lot of cities in which he's done this, like Jakarta, Manila, Cairo, Bangkok, Singapore, Barcelona, London, New York, Washington, Chicago, and so forth, Vancouver, Florida, and Sudan. So welcome, sir. Good evening for being with us. And he will be speaking to us today on leadership. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. Good morning. Everyone who's watching me. Wherever you may be on planet Earth. Thank you, Pradeep, for inviting me. And there goes my Sunday. Preparing these slides for the topic that you gave me, that you're asking me to speak. Well, don't worry, I won't take too long, although there are plenty of slides that I've done. But again, when you give a topic like this, like leadership, it's such a big, huge topic, and then there's so many ways that you can approach it. Yeah, you can go. They say there are 9 ways. There's so many ways to skin a cat. So don't worry. I have a tendency to just crystallize the topic, and then you can look at it, from the macro level or the micro level, or you can look at it from the research standpoint. And again, I always I try to, or nowadays I avoid. I normally go to the epistemology of the topic, but today I will try and fulfill the objective of what we are here tonight and this couple of minutes that you have with me. Okay, I just gave the topic. Okay, the future of leadership in the disruptive education ecosystem, and then that's what disruption in education is all about. We've seen all this. Fast forward, self-taught learning, personal tutoring, batch model classroom, disruptive blended learning. Let me move on, right? And when I typed leadership on Google Scholar, there were almost 5 million results that appeared in less than 0.04 seconds. So you can imagine the amount of knowledge, the amount of information that's available. Anyone can just go. Well, that's the world that we live in now, thanks to Google, right? Okay, now. So what I will do is in the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes or so, I'm just going to touch on leadership so that at the end of the day, I can crystallize it into leadership and how to shape the minds of the next generation of students and inspire leaders of today for a disruptive change in education. Let me move on. Okay, now leadership. Like Steve Jobs, okay, it reminds me of my favorite, okay? I only have 3 stories to tell. Shaping the minds of the next generation, inspiring leaders of today, and disrupting today's education. I hope, I am able to do that, to share that with you. Let's move on. Okay, leadership, what is it? Again, I pick and choose a few. It's about guidance, solution, goal, motivation, direction, vision, plan, communication. All right. Leadership again, what is it? Leading change, share vision, inspire people, empower people. Okay, leadership again, you know, power, support, teamwork, motivation, competence, skills, responsibility, communication, blah, 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 right? Now, again, the 5 essentials of leadership: communication, motivation, positivity, feedback, creativity. Okay. Okay. Now, people sometimes confuse between management and leadership. What quickly is to remind all of us, okay, that management can mean different things to different people, but generally, okay, the generic understanding of management is they are task-oriented, transactional, doing things right. That's the keyword, doing things right. Events and tasks, rational thinking, instructs people, cognitive intelligence, relies on authority, push approach, status quo. And leadership is about being people-oriented, transformational, doing the right things, attitudes and behaviors, inspirational and visionary, listens and empower. You see, here is doing things right, keyword. And leadership is doing the right things. Listens and empowers, emotional intelligence, leads through others, ask people, cool approach, risk-taking. Let's move on. All right. Okay, leadership. So what's leadership? Again, you saw this now, you heard what I said, you know, transactional, it can be transformational. I wouldn't go into the detail, okay? It can be autocratic, it can be laissez-faire, okay? It can be democratic, it can be the military types of leadership. There's fascism, neo-Nazi, and what have you. And then you have the right wing and the right left and the right leaning, and then the political and cultural forms of leadership. Let's move on. Okay. Leadership competence. Okay, just to remind you, what you call, or rather, I took this was quite some time back, but the Society for Human Resource Management in the US defines leadership competencies as leadership skills and behaviors that contribute to superior performance. By using a competency-based approach to leadership organization, they can better identify and develop their leaders. Okay, it's about leadership development. Let's move on. Okay, now there's another, you have so many books, so many gurus talking about leadership. Greiner is one of them in 72. He wrote on growth model, framework of leadership. His framework of leadership, it was on agility, okay, creativity and talent cultivation. So this basically is Greiner's agility leadership model. Let's move on. Then you have the Ashridge leadership lessons from the high seas, winning behaviors in leadership. I kind of like this, okay? It focuses on 3 things. When you talk about leadership, when you're not in the sea, when you are in the Navy, or when you are, you know, well, today everybody's talking about logistics, everybody's talking about ships. A lot of leadership and learning, you know, and management, you know, that can be learned. So essentially, according to Ashridge, the leadership lesson 3, alignment, ability to manage multiple expectations and draw people together in pursuit of common objective, capability, ability to develop clear and consistent process that reduce function and uncertainty and enable people to work and learn together. And the third one, autonomy, the ability to build trust, okay, and give people the discretion to organizing themselves appropriately within the framework of a broader framework. Let's move on. Okay, then there's another leadership guru, John Maxwell. I met him personally when he was here in Malaysia. Okay, he's talking about 360 degrees leadership. In fact, I remember in 2014, I gave, there was a training program to the academics of 2 Thai universities and Northern University of the UUM in Sintok, in Kedah. So we had a 2-day series, and we were using the 360 degrees leadership, what they call, as a basis to polish and prepare these administrators of these 3 universities, which is a state platitudinous treatment to what Macbeth eloquently elucidated. Leadership, it seems, is a predicament fraught with tragic potential. And then the other one is plight of the middle managers, saddled with responsibilities but lacking real power. So that's some of the things that John Maxwell discusses, and you know what he meant by 360 degree leadership. Let's move on. Okay, leadership agility. Bill Joyner and Stephen Joseph. Okay. Sorry, I confused just now Greiner with leadership agility. I mentioned about leadership agility. Now, Greiner has got a different framework, different model, but Joyner and Stephen was propagating leadership agility. What is it about? What is it all about? Not single competency, master skill set, personal development achieved through series of predictable, learnable agility levels, visionary, collaborative, creative, proactive in learning from experience. Only 5 to 10% have mastered the levels of agility needed for consistent effectiveness. Let's look at the next one. Okay, distributed leadership. This is interesting because it's related to, I'm sure, hopefully, there are a lot of educators who are also watching me. We're talking about educators, we're talking about from the kindergarten, the primary school, and then to the secondary school, to the college, to the university, and up to postgraduate. Alma Harris, okay, distributed leadership. I like her book. I've read the book, okay, and I'm not sure whether educators from different parts of the world are emulating her. What do you call? I got this from a book, autograph copy when she was here at the University of Malaya. When my mentor, my ex-boss, and a friend who just passed away last Tuesday, Tun Arshad Ayub, he was the one who was chairman of the University of Malaya then, and he was trying to propagate and to let everyone, what you call, understand what is meant by Alma Harris as distributed leadership, engaging the many rather than the few in school improvement. Long been a promising theory, but must be implemented effectively before educators and students can reap the rewards, including improved learner outcomes and stronger organizational performance. Okay, let's move on. Oh no, not monkey flu, please. Okay, this is just the story I always tell during my corporate days. There was this chairman who bought a farm, or a coconut palm. We have a lot of coconuts with a lot of fruit trees there, and then what do you call, in one of the places not far from where I am, by the seaside. So after he bought it, he told his personal assistant, "Look, who's going to be plucking all these coconuts? They are ready. They are ripe to be plucked." I said, "We are having some what do you call labor problems." Then his PA said, "Don't worry, boss. We'll go to Kelantan, Kota Baru, which is a northern state. And I know of an old man in a village whose job is to train monkeys how to pluck coconuts." Then Cem said, "Okay, let's go." So they went to the nearest airport, which is just close to my house, and took the Firefly and went to Kota Baru. As soon as they got there, they went to the village, and true enough, there was this old man and with monkey cages, but quite a lot of the monkeys are already gone. So the old man said, "Oh, you're a bit late, sir." I said, "I just sold most of monkeys. But what is left is only these last 3 monkeys, same size and in different cages." So the chairman asked the old man, "How much is it?" He said, "This first monkey in the first cage, that cost $500. And the one in the middle, that one cost 1,000. And then the third cage, it costs 5,000. Then the chairman said, "Oh, why is the price different?" And then the old man said, No, it's different because they have different skills, different competencies." Okay. Now the first monkey says, "I only train him to go up the tree and pluck all the coconuts. So once you open the cage and you let him go, he will fly up. He will run up to the coconut tree and pluck all the coconuts, young and old. Everything he will, take it down." Then what about the middle monkey? Why is it a bit more expensive? That's 1,000. So the old man explained, "Well, he has an extra skill. I train him to only pick up the young coconuts, the sweet, soft flesh, and with what you call sweet, the water, or the coconut water is sweet." The chairman said, "Oh, is it?" So when you let him go, he will climb up the tree, pick up. He will smell, and then shake the coconut a bit, smell it, and then he will pluck it and bring to you. Sure enough, when you open it, the water it's really young coconut, the water is sweet, and the flesh is soft. Okay. Then what about this third monkey? They look the same to me. Then the old man, was like putting it on his head and said, and then he called the chairman, "Come, let me whisper to you something." So the chairman came to him and said, and the old man said, "Actually, to be honest with you, sir," it says, "even I don't know what skills this monkey, this third monkey has. But I do know for a fact that the other 2 monkeys call him boss." Okay, let me move on. Think about it. Okay, I want to move to my favorite slide. Wherever I go, whatever presentation that I make, whenever it involves economics, I like to share 2 economists that's close to my heart, that I'm very much influenced by them. Okay, and Keynes. Okay, I'm a Keynesian actually. I'm pro-government. Okay, and versus Friedman. Now, according to John Maynard Keynes, okay, he is an enemy of laissez-faire and advocate of public management. Now, he believed that clever government officials of goodwill could design economic institutions that would be superior to the market. or could at least trick the market with taxes, subsidies, and regulations to produce superior outcomes. Now, technocracy, skilled experts designing and fine-tuning institutions out of goodness of their hearts to make possible general prosperity. If you look at Bretton Woods, where the World Bank and IMF were created, they were created by all these smart civil servants, not by the private sector. Okay, that's why I like Keynes. Okay, now Friedman. Friedman is passed away now. Okay, now he's very much what do you call private sector. You know, he's an idol of America. You know, anything can happen. You know, you can do anything in America. So that's because of Friedman. Now he believes that private market interests were aligned with public good. Government failures, according to him, were greater and more terrible than market failures. So this is the guy who says that let the unseen hands of the demands and supply let the unseen hands of the demand and supply or the market forces, okay, determine the fate of any organization. So if it's efficient, it's effective and economical, then okay, now I add two more, and ethical and also and environmentally conscious, then he can be sustainable, then he can survive. Otherwise, he will fail. But it's okay. If he fails, someone else will come up and start it all over again. That was the thinking by Friedman. So when market equilibrium was not the utilitarian social welfare optimum, and even when government could be used to improve matters from a utilitarian point of view, there was still an additional value in letting human freedom have the widest berth possible. So that's the two difference between these two economies. Now, whether Keynes or Friedman was more right in their deep orientation, the tension between their two views has been a very valuable driving force for human progress and endeavor over the past 100 years or so, right? Let's move on. Okay, the today's shifting fault lines and tomorrow's big picture, okay? Greenhouse effect, okay? We had worsening global warming, sprawling squatter cities, atomizing media power, and emerging economic regions that fit as well as compete with Silicon Valley. That was way back in 2006 when I wrote this slide. Okay, now it points to a changing balance of power between man and his environment, between the rich and the poor. We can see that now because of the COVID pandemic. There is, you can see the global economic inequality, if you may, divide seems to be widening, okay, between the mainstream media and the upstarts, and between US and India and China, that will reshape the way we do business in the years to come, which is already reshaping, even as I'm speaking. And I hope the worst will not happen. I hope, you know, because of today, we talk about collaboration. You know, COVID has done a lot of wonders to us. It has changed the way leaders look at things, which is the positive or the hopeful side of it. Let me move on. What else? Okay, now this is what I'm worried about. That to see this trap. Okay, if you Google this trap is the Greek historian. Okay, that was a term used by the Greek historian. Okay, that was popularized by the American political scientist Graham Allison to describe an apparent tendency towards war when an emerging power threatens to displace an existing great power as a regional or international hegemon. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope to this trap that many economists are arguing about it, I hope it doesn't happen. But you know, if you even as I'm speaking, Russia is still in conflict with Ukraine. So my prayers are that, and I pray every day that it doesn't spread. There's a tendency for others to follow suit. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Public sector governance, OECD 209. I just wanted to share with you because leadership is also related. Leadership can be in the public sector. In any nation, you have the public sector, the private sector, and the cooperative sector. Now, let's look quickly at the public sector. Traditionally, it's called public administration. It's rule-based governance. Now, the new public management model, it's results-based governance. Okay, network governance, networks between organizations inside and outside the public sector, nationally and internationally. Okay, power and political economy, formal and informal, and interest and their mechanism for articulation. Now, the historical perspective, context-specific and past-dependent trajectories through which governance has developed, what they call in countries. Right? Let's move on. Profit versus responsibility. That's what we've been talking about, okay? All this while, when you say you are in business, when you become a leader, the board wants to know, how can you create wealth, okay? It's all profit motivated, enhancing or increasing shareholder wealth. It has changed now. Today we are talking about stakeholder wealth or stakeholder concern. So that's why it's moved on to responsibility. So in other words, an organization will be looked upon as, are you responsible? Are you responsible? Future I put aside here, the UN 17 SDGs. Are you paying attention to the planet? In your business, are you contributing to what you call the greenhouse, increasing the green gas house effect? Are you polluting the oceans? Are your products, especially if you're making plastic, are you throwing if everyone's still throwing? It's scary, when I Google to find the amount, the tons of plastic being thrown annually into the ocean. My God, if you go and if you eat a fish now, cut into the tummy, more often than not, you will find small traces of plastic inside it. That's one. Now, the other thing that I wanted to get across is the 3 Ps. Today, all organizations, public, private, co-op, what we look at is fundamentally, a philosophy, we look at the 3 Ps. People, profit, planet. Okay. Sometimes some companies will pay attention to people, and then the profit, and then the planet. Some organization will put profit first. The argument is, without the profit, how can I pay you? Then only they will look at the planet, at the people, and then after having looked at your money and your people, and then only you look at the planet. So a lot of organizations fast. Forward-looking MNCs, big organizations, are now following closely the UN sustainability goals, and they were looking at your 3 Ps would be the planet first. And then if the planet is taken care of, then you will look at the people. If the planet is okay, people are okay, your human resources are okay, all other resources are okay, and then you will have your profit. The profit will come. So that's how I look at it. So that's how I look at how leadership should be, how leaders now should, realign the thinking, and how future leaders should be, organizing their brain. Let me move on. Now, that is the most important thing. I've said that before, I'm saying this now, and I will continue to say that. After 40 years of corporate life and teaching a lot of BBAs, MBAs, and DBAs, and this is the thing, that the first thing I do in my MBA class, I said, you guys are going to be future leaders. This is the most important thing you must develop and you must understand. Now, being able as a leader, in leadership roles, the person, not the man, I move away. I don't like it when people say it. Let's not be gender biased. You don't say the best man for the job. You say the best person for the job. So being a leader doesn't matter what you are. But if the person who assumes leadership role must, be someone who are able, being able to see the patterns. I say this again. Being able to see patterns hidden behind events and identifying patterns in the unseemingly unpredictable. It's one of the most useful powers of any corporate practitioner, or the word is any leader, whether you're public or private, whether you're an educator, but if you are in leadership role, you must be able to see. Of course, I been saying this again and again. I'm sure you have heard it before. We live in a VUCA world, So volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In order to prepare future leaders, you need to give them my favorite, Viagra. And at some session, I remember I was giving a talk to a group of professors from UKM, and some of them were laughing. Oops, I said, no, that's not what you're thinking. Viagra here means versatile, inspiring, assertive, gung-ho, resourceful, and agile. So that is the various elements or the various skills, the various competencies, future leaders, which we must train to make sure they have it, to deal with leadership in the future. Of course, they can adjust it according to, the world changes. So people change accordingly to suit the situation. But without undermining two things, I would like to remind us again, without undermining, number one, your ethical leaders are watched by your ethical standards. Do you have ethics? And number one, and do you pay attention? Are you on track? Are you current? Do you see what's going on? What has been happening in the past, and then the contamination that we have done to the planet? Are you in that mindset that you want to now, make sure that you play your role, play your part in not further contaminating our beautiful, our gorgeous planet Earth? Let's move on. How much time do I have? Designing the future in leadership education. Okay, I quickly have put here what will be your approach. Is it a top down, bottoms up, according to your own mold? Okay, that doesn't matter from which country that you come from. Are you blending in with the mainstream global change? Is it inclusive? Is it an open skies approach? Okay, is it an isolation? Is it secular? Is it tolerant? Okay, what about the generational, conflict? Baby boomers like me, okay, the Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen Y. Okay, are you paying attention to them? Okay, again, look at the politics, culture, society, religion, assimilation, multi-ethnic diversity. So these are some of the things that you need to think about, okay, when you're a leader. Next one. Okay, now the pandemic. What pandemic? Okay, okay. Now the pandemic has caused us to look at a lot more things. Okay, some of the things I put here: democratization of education, information, big data, algorithm, robotics, IoT, and then you had the Arab Spring those days. All these changes, things happening in the world. Okay, then you had Brexit. Then of course my favorite, US President Donald Trump. Okay, then the attack on Capitol Hill, breaking up of Belgium, and then the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So these are the things that's going on in the world. And then, of course, something that I would be missing if I don't mention, the effect and the power of the social media. Facebook, Metaverse, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, WeChat, and of course, TikTok. Okay, I'm also now playing around a lot with TikTok. I just enjoy those, very short video. It makes me laugh. Okay, but it's not just bluffing, It's I'm wow. See, people are so creative, people are so innovative. They can think of something that you never thought about. They can turn something that is nasty into something that's enjoyable, and then something funny and becomes a joke, and then it goes viral. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I took this from the OECD. Okay, scenarios for the future of schooling. Okay, schooling extended, participation in formal education continue to expand, international cooperation and technological advances support more individualized learning. The structures and processes of schooling remain. Number 2, education is outsourced. Traditional schooling systems break down as society becomes more directly involved in educating its citizens. Learning takes place through more diverse, privatized, flexible arrangement with digital technology driver, and then schools as learning hub. Schools remain, but diversity and experimentation has become the norm. Opening the school walls connected schools to their communities, favoring ever-changing forms of learning, civic engagement, and social innovation. This is already happening in different parts of the world. Some are about to do it, but I think this the way OECD has nicely described it. Learn as you go. Education takes place everywhere, anytime. Distinction, okay? Learning no longer is directed to the power of, okay, I can't see what's behind these things. Anyway, you can read them, all right? Now, okay, again, for the leaders who are leaders now and those who are going to be the leaders, don't forget my favorite author, Howard Gardner. He said that in the Harvard Business School Press in 2006, the 5 minds. It was useful, it still is useful, and I think it will still be useful in the future. So please, do not ignore this, okay? If you are going to be a leader, you must have a disciplinary mind, mastery of major schools of thought, including science, maths, and history, and of at least one professional craft. And then you need to have a synthesizing mind, ability to integrate ideas from different disciplines or spheres into a coherent whole, and to communicate that integration to others. The creating mind, capacity to uncover and clarify new problems, questions, and phenomena. The respectful mind, awareness of and appreciation for differences among human beings. And lastly, the ethical mind, fulfillment of one's responsibilities as a worker and a citizen. So you see, if you look at leaders globally, they would be displaying these minds that Howard Gardner described. All right, let's move on. Okay, all people have untapped leadership potential. Just as all people have untapped athletic potential with coaching and practice, we can all get much better at it. Noel Tiki, author of the Leadership Engine, said that, right? Okay, how cooking was discovered. Okay, this is interesting because it is relevant to leadership, because sometimes when you're a leader, you expect to do change. And then Professor Rosbeth Moss-Kenter, she wrote the book, The Challenge of Organizational Change, and she took this story as a parable to describe how difficult it is if you don't know. Okay, the story goes this way. How cooking was discovered. About 100 years ago, Charles Lamb wrote this story and said, in this village, the English villagers went to another village. There was a festival. So when the whole village went there, so when they came back to the village, one of the houses like this caught fire. You see, they live on the top level, and on the ground floor is the domestic animals. So everything was burnt, and the animals were also, became like barbecue, and so all the village folks got together and they were trying to salvage and save whatever they can. So one of the guys happened to be poking at one of the sheep that was already, got burnt, and then it was, painful, right? And then he took his finger out and put the finger to his mouth, and then voila! According to Charles Lamb, it seems this village folk have discovered cooking. And you know what they did after that? Every time they wanted to have a feast in their village, they will choose a house like this, take the sheep, put inside the what do you call the thatch house, and burn it. Okay, so they do it every time. So Professor Rosbeth Moskenter, summarize, or describe it very interestingly. This is what she said. She said, if you don't know how the sheep gets cooked, you are going to be wasting hell of a lot of houses. So she said that because that's exactly what is happening, or what will happen if you are in a leadership role. If you don't know how some things happen, if you don't know how some things get done, you're going to be wasting a lot of resources. That was what she was getting at. Okay, let's move on. How cooking was discovered. And leaders. Okay, winning leaders are teaching leaders. At the end of the day, you bet on people, not on strategies. Larry Bossidy, CEO Electric. Okay, leaders develop. The scarcest resource in the world today is leadership talent, capable of continuously transforming organization to win in tomorrow's world. Okay, Jack Welch. Okay, I won't read to you. Whenever he looks his people, he will he will hone their analytical skills and their leadership instincts. And this is one of my favorite CEOs because he does a lot of training himself. Every week he will go to Crotonville. Okay, and then this is what he said. I've gone to Crotonville, their training center, every 2 weeks for 17 years to interact with new employees, middle managers, and senior managers. I have not missed a session. See, that's what leaders are. You cannot hide in your room, okay? You got to be with your people. Then the next leadership guru, the next CEO, Roger Enrico of PepsiCo. In an 18-month period shortly before he became CEO of Pepsi-Cola in early 1996, Roger Enrico spent nearly a third of his time at his house at the Cayman Islands and Montana. This may seem like a pretty unusual way for the vice chairman of a multi-billion-dollar company based in Purchase, New York, to do his job, but his job is exactly what Roger Enrico was doing. He was doing it extremely well in this remote off-site setting, away from the daily demands of making potato chips, selling sodas, and resolving assorted day-to-day problems. Enrico was preparing PepsiCo to survive and thrive in the 21st century. He was running his own personal war college to develop new generation of leaders as Pepsi's next generation. And he had fostered some of their ideas, resulting in an estimated $2 billion in top-line growth. Okay, the next guru is Andy Grove, Intel. Okay, everyone knows Intel and everyone knows Andy Grove. Okay. His teaching session, he discussed the role of leaders in detecting and navigating the turbulent industry shifts that many companies fail to survive. Okay, I'll move on. I won't bore you with the details. And the other guy is Rear SEAL. You know SEALs, the Navy SEALs, the Rear Admiral. Okay, and what they call his teachable points. Leadership. He also taught leadership. Let me read. Navy SEAL since the Vietnam War. He visited a class of SEALs graduating from basic underwater demolition SEAL training. Only 20% of the candidates who enter this elite 6-month program survive its great physical and mental demands to graduate. Throughout the day, Smith, in his 50s, participated in the same physical training as the SEALs candidate. Imagine he's 50, okay, who were all in their 20s. At the end of the day, he met alone with the graduates. Speaking as a successful leader who had been exactly where they were, he laid out for them personally teachable points, okay, and how to be leaders, right? So you see, you got to be there and to show and to guide, not just tell people and talk about it, right? Okay, these 4 leaders represent the Olympians. During the early lives, they built up excellent track records. Then they took on the next challenge, becoming great teachers, keyword teachers, who could develop other leaders. Are you ready for the challenge? The rest of these rapid rate slides will give you some of the what, why, and how of becoming a better leader and engendering those same traits in others. Don't worry, I will go quickly because otherwise I have another like 5-10 minutes. Okay. Winning organizations are teaching organizations. How are you doing as leader? Answer is, how are the people you lead doing? Do they learn? Do they visit customers? Okay, that's what Larry Bossidy, CEO, Signal. Okay, I won't read that to you. Then two criteria of winning companies. Our dream is to shape a global enterprise with the reach and resource of a big company, the body of a big company, but the thirst to learn. You see, teachers, teaching, learning, training, the compulsion to share and the bias for action, the soul of a small company. Check well again. Okay, success in adding value and sustained excellence. There are many ways you could choose to measure this, but for corporations, I don't think there's a better one than capital markets. Okay, I won't go into that. Productivity, okay, darling, okay, don't worry, I won't go into that. Okay, the company that consistently win, the Intel, the Compaq, the Service Master of the world, don't just have one strong leader or just a few at the top. They have lots of strong leaders, and they have them at all levels of the organization. So in other words, in building an organization, it is just not just about building to last, but it's also about building to change. Now, in the future, the real core competency of companies or organizations, for that matter, will be the ability to destroy and remake themselves continuously and creatively to meet customer demands. So I would imagine this will also happen with education, and that's why Pradeep and his colleagues, okay, and like-minded people in other parts of the world are talking about this disruptive education. The basic fundamental principles are still there, but the way it is going to happen, the way we train, we teach, and we educate will change drastically thanks to technology. Okay, let me move on. Leadership means mastering revolutionary change. Senior managers go to where they are by having been good at what they do. So it's the same thing, even with educators, okay? Even teachers, educational managers. So it's not surprising that they will keep implementing the same strategic and tactical moves that work for them during the course of their careers. I call this phenomenon the inertia of success. It is extremely dangerous. And the growth said that again. So again, this is also has got applicability in the education sector. Okay, leader stage revolution. All people have untapped leadership potential. This is the IR 4.0, the technology revolution. This is, of course, if you, some of you may be too young to know, this is the French Revolution. Okay. Becoming a teacher. Leaders are teachers. Developing a teachable point of view, the heart of leadership, it starts with ideas. Okay, values for winning. In the 60s, 80s, I would be managing 6 or 7 people. Today, I manage 15, and it's on the way to 20. Okay. Of course, some people manage more people. Speaking with words and actions. James Burkhead of Johnson got the most important call of his life. 7 people in Chicago had died when they took Tylenol pills that had been laced with poison. Over the next few days, government officials and Johnson & Johnson executives scrambled to figure out what was happening. For Johnson & Johnson, this was a crucible. The whole world was watching. Within days, it was proved that this was an isolated incident and that Johnson & Johnson was the victim of a terrible crime. In spite of its innocence, J&J continued removing 31 million bottles from store shelves and taking returns from customers. It's cost the company 100 million. Okay. Now, what did Johnson & Johnson do? This is what they did. Number one, clearly articulate a set of values. Because people are watching you, okay? That's what leadership is all about. Continually reflect on the value to make sure they're appropriate to achieving the desired goal. Embody the values with their own behavior. Encourage others to apply the values on their own decision and action. And finally, aggressively confront and deal with pockets of ignorance and resistance. So that's a lesson that you need to learn. Making it happen, getting energy. At the end of the day, I feel every single person has got to come away from a meeting with me with something positive. My goal is that at every single session, people feel they've gained something from the experience. Carlo Cantu, CEO of Service Master. Okay, and capitalizing on change again. Okay, sense of urgency, a mission worth achieving, goals that stretch people's abilities, a spirit of teamwork, realistic expectation that the team can succeed. Right? Okay. The courage to see reality and to act on it. The best way to get people to accept the need for change is not to give them a choice. The organization has to know that there is a leader at the top who has made up his mind, that he is surrounded by leaders who have made up their minds and that they're going to drive forward no matter what. Bill Wise. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, now leading into the future, the classic business story is much like the classic human story. There is a rise and fall, the overcoming of great odds, the upholding of principles despite the cost, questions, rivalry, and succession, and even the possibility of descent into madness. Mark Hepring, author and member of the board of directors at Wall Street Journal. Okay, tying it all together, I'm speaking of stories rather than messages or themes. Leaders present a dynamic perspective to the followers. I repeat, yeah. Leaders present a dynamic perspective to the followers, not just a headline or snapshot, but a drama that unfolds over time in which they, the leaders and followers, are the principal characters or heroes. Again, my favorite author, Howard Gardner. So you was said earlier on, the 5 minds of a leader, and this is tying that all together. All right. Writing your leadership story. General Electric will be the world's most exciting enterprise where ideas win, where people flourish and grow. Okay, I would have enough, or you've heard of enough of Jack Welch. Okay, leading into the future again, James McGregor. Okay, James McGregor Burns. Okay, he said the role of the leader is all the more legitimate and powerful if top leaders help make their followers into leaders. Only by standing on their shoulders can true greatness in leadership be achieved. Let's move on. Okay, exercise. Okay, don't worry. I wanted to say, imagine that Tom Brokaw is standing in front of you with a microphone. He's doing a special on world-class leaders. You've just been asked to tell 40 million viewers, okay, like now, I don't know how many people are watching me, your point of view on what makes a good leader and how you embody this. Okay, right. 5th question for all education leaders. Where are we? Organization, all that. Okay, what are we doing to make learning better? What connection we make? Okay. And then the World Economic Forum Education 4.0 framework, where you can Google and then you can look at it. Okay, global citizenship skill, innovation, creativity, technology skill, interpersonal skills, lifelong student-driven learning, problem-based, accessible and inclusive learning, personalized and self-paced learning. So all this is happening, and that's why some of this is causing a lot of disruption. That's why it's what they call disruptive education. Disruptive in the positive sense. We cannot run away from education. People need to be educated. Okay, and because they have even to be smarter than the crooks, because normally the crook is one step ahead of the good guys. So education is to prepare people. Oh, there are a lot of smart people, who become crook. So you got to have. So sometimes you need to be a crook, or rather, remember the old saying, you need to be a thief to catch a thief. Okay, so you need to be mindful about all these variables. Okay. Now, blended learning framework, I'm sure most of you know what it's about, okay? The key elements, teaching, learning content, I won't read that, enabling policy, management, partnership, teachers' capacity development, inclusive. So you see, there's a blended learning framework. Let me move on. Oh, I think I'm done. Okay, literacy is about shared responsibility. I won't read that. Okay, new paradigm for educational leadership. Okay, 7 characteristics of effective education leaders. Okay, leader radiate positive energy, balance life, create synergy, or another. Okay, we know that. Continually learn, see life as an adventure. Okay, leadership in education is about learning. The learning of others has to be at the heart of the decision making of any educational leader. Okay, that's it. I won't go there. Okay, I'm up to my last slide, so I'm just nice. I said I will finish at 9:15. I got 3 minutes. Okay, now this is important to all of us, and this is what disruptive education is all about. Because in the past, you work 9 to 5, work in the corporate office, use company equipment, focus on input, climb the corporate ladder, predefined work, hoards information, no voice, relies on email, focus on knowledge, corporate learning, and teaching. Now in the future, which is already here now, you can work anytime. Work anywhere, use any device, focus on outputs, create your own ladder, customize work, shares information, can become a leader, relies on collaborative technologies, focus on adaptive learning and democratized learning and teaching. So all this is already here. We're not just talking about it in some places, in some parts of the world, in some legal jurisdiction, in some education, jurisdiction, in some countries. They are already doing it, or they're probably ahead in it, right? So think about it and take a look at it, right? Okay, my last slide. The 4th unwise monkey. I picked this from a Japanese CEO who was working in India. When he was doing a presentation, I saw this slide, so I quickly took a photograph. I like it because we all used to these 3 monkeys, right? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. But now we have the 4th monkey. Follow and share, which I'm also guilty. We see something, we just, and then share and then make it go viral. Even it's evil. Because we live in the post-truth fake news era. Okay, people believe all the lies, people believe all the untruths, and then when later on, and then it becomes viral, and then later on, when the real truth comes out into the open, not many people believe. So you have to make sure that you are sinful enough, and that you don't become the 4th or the unwise monkey. That's my advice to everyone, especially those in education. Okay. Let me see what else do I have. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Okay, so it could be said of me in this presentation, I have only made up a bunch of other men's flowers, providing of my own, only the string that ties together. I quoted it from Montaigne, the French moralist and essayist, 1533 and 1590. So, okay, Pradeep, I'm done. I hope people are following me. You know, I was going very fast, like a bullet train, like a China bullet train in Kunming. Okay, Pradeep? All yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khaeruddin Saab, for that talk on leadership. And before we leave, good evening, everybody. And before we leave, I request you to watch our detox from our disruptive literacy movement by Global Dream, which has been an initiative of Dr. Sunita Gandhi since 2014. The whole idea, it's a very noble idea that by a people's movement, everyone should be involved in ensuring India's literacy, basic literacy and numeracy. And we have several talks on this. And for more information on the talks that you might want to attend, please go to 7408401000. Good evening, everybody. Goodbye, and see you again tomorrow. And thank you so much, Professor Khaeruddin. So much.
Thank you, Pradeep.
Thank you, sir.